Hi, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. And, folks, all my guests are special, and I have a special guest today. Her name is Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, Hart, H-A-R-T, and she is amazing. She is a writer and an author, a speaker, transformational coach, a spiritual explorer, mindfulness coach, and a pathfinder. And she wrote this book. Hopefully I'll say the title right. Sojourner in Ottawa.
Yes, Ottawa.
Ottawa. Okay, I was close. Ottawa. Mind expanding ideas and practical tools for the open-minded seeker of a meaningful life. And I want to welcome Carrie Hart to Chatting with Betsy. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. It's delightful to be here.
I love the name of your book, and I'll ask you what I always ask all the authors that come on is, what motivated you to write this book?
Well, I would say a couple of things. One is after my husband died and the process that I went through in creating a new life, I really wanted to share that with people, all of these things that I had learned over my 25-year spiritual journey, and I kind of went through it all using all those tools and then said, these are the things that really, really worked for me that I want to make sure other people are aware of in handling a big transition like that in life and creating a new life. And the other thing is that...
Go ahead. That's incredible. I was going to say that's incredible, but go ahead.
The other was that because of the process that I went through, I was finally coming up with some kind of a picture of, I think this is what I believe to be true, that kind of a picture, and I wanted to make sure I shared that as well. Because as you know, Betsy, too, a lot of things become clearer when someone you love leaves, passes on. And you just have a different view of life and death and our journey.
Yeah, definitely, Carrie. I appreciate life so much more now. Every day is a gift, and I know that sounds cliche to a lot of people, but Matt, my husband, was 66 when he died, and my brother Bradley was only 67. That's young.
Yes.
And, we never know how long we're here on Earth for. And I just think that it's amazing that after losing your husband, Ed, you were seeking and found peace. And I just think that that's amazing because, you know what, I know that you've heard it, Carrie. I hear it from people all the time. I lost my husband, lost my wife, my mom, my dad. I don't know how to live anymore. Life's not worth living. And I think that's sad. I think that's really sad when people think that because, yes, you and I, we could be, wallowing in self-pity. And I don't mean to sound harsh, folks, but I'm a Jersey girl, so I just say it like it is. I don't have time for self-pity, okay? There's times, yes, I cry. I miss Matt. Of course we miss our loved ones. But you know what? The best way to honor our loved ones' life is to keep living, enjoying life, and do something to honor their memory. That is what we're doing. And
the other way of looking at things, though, where you're saying life isn't worth living, or it means that you're mired in a combination of the past and the future instead of being in the now, right? So it's a funny thing how when your spouse well, actually, anyone that you love deeply and is involved in your life dies, your future is all of a sudden the future that you had planned together, your idea of that future is gone. And so you have to, you can imagine a new future, but even more important than that, though, is to just come into now, this moment. Right, this moment when you and I are here talking to each other on the phone, this moment, and you don't have to have a vision of a future, even though so often with especially a spouse, so much of your life is around that, is around the future, right? Oh, let's do this, let's go on this vacation, let's buy this house, let's do this. And in fact, though, the peace that we're talking about, Betsy, is in this moment right now. It isn't a place we go to in the future.
Right, exactly. You know, like I just appreciate the now. You know, when I was caregiving for Matt, and I was always and other caregivers, I've heard this from them too. Well, you know, what will I be like during the end, and how will I be, and what will the future be? And I'm like, you know what? I just say, live in the now, keep an eye for the future, but enjoy the now, because that's all we have. The now.
It is.
Right?
It absolutely is. That's it. That's all there is. The past is over, the future isn't here, and we have this moment. And the thing is, in this moment, that's where the peace resides. That's where it is. It's in this, right? And we all have. See, happiness isn't something in the future that you reach. If only this, then I'd be happy. Is not truth. The truth is that at any moment you can find peace and joy and happiness inside you within the now moment.
Yes. And do you think, Carrie, that it's a mindset of choosing? Do we want to be happy or sad?
I actually do believe that it's a mindset.
Too.
And, you know, one author that I really liked the way he presented this was Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote The Four Agreements. He talks about how we are domesticated as children. I love the way he uses that term, domesticated. We're taught, do this and you'll get rewarded, do this and you'll get punished. And we're just taught all of these things by our parents, our school, our peers, and life teaches us these things. And then our mind takes those things and makes them into rules and repeats them to us. Even though the people that said those things to us are long gone, our mind still remembers all that and teaches us these rules. And you have to consciously choose, I don't want to listen to that voice anymore. I don't want to listen to the voice of my parents' instructions that now my own mind has taken on and said these things. I want to own my own thinking, and I want to choose happiness and choose joy. Now, mind you, of course, Betsy, this isn't something, often we have to make that choice over and over and over again. It isn't something like you make what that choice once and all of a sudden you're happy every day all the time. Not at all. But you can, in any moment, you can say, wait a second, I'm listening to a voice in my head that isn't true. That voice is saying, oh, I'm so unhappy, I'm so lonely, I miss him so much, my life's hardly worth living. That, you don't have to listen to that voice. You can train yourself not to listen to that voice and to change that voice until you work on it enough so that your own voice says, hold it, let me come into now. That voice isn't in the now. That's just noise. Let me come into this moment and the silence of this moment and the beauty of this moment. And
I
think
it's
a matter of training. Yeah, it's a matter of training and choice. Yes, it is.
Yes, I so believe that. It's so easy. I said before to feel sorry for myself, and when Matt died, thankfully he went before COVID. Then COVID happened, and everything shut down. Right. And you know what? I was. This sounds awful, folks. I have to admit, I was grateful to stay at home. I was grateful for that rest and really to be able to take that time to recuperate. So maybe I'm one of the few people that was grateful to be staying at home. Can you explain, Carrie, what is adequate?
Adequate. Yes, right. So, well, first I'll get to where the word came from in a minute, but the concept is there is a zone that we can access, and it's the zone where we go in meditation, where we go in our intuition. It's where you go where a shaman goes for healing, and a shaman in shaman experience, it's often referred to as non-ordinary reality. It's real, but it's non-ordinary. It's lifting yourself to a state of altered consciousness. And it's the state that Deepak Chopra refers to as non-local consciousness. In other words, it's a type of consciousness where that's outside space and time. And now everybody has access to this, and you experience it, like, for instance, if you step outside and there's this glorious sunset, and you allow yourself to go completely into that moment, and you have a moment of an altered consciousness, you feel different, your body may feel kind of buzzy, or you may get chills, and you can experience this through a piece of beautiful music, through the beauty of nature, and also through lifting yourself consciously into that state through meditation and access to your intuition. And when you're in that state, you can know things that you wouldn't ordinarily know. Like, for instance, you had told me about your sense of knowing when it was that your husband was about to die. And that kind of a sense of premonitions, a sense of knowing something that you wouldn't otherwise know, all this happens in this region. And the word adequate, which describes, simply adequate is describing that region, because we don't really have a good word for it. As I say, like Deepak Chopra says, non-local consciousness. That's not exactly poetic, is it? So what happened, how I had an experience on one of my own spiritual journeys. I was on my own journey in my mind's eye. There was this portal, and I went through it. And on the other side of this portal was this energy called Wanatakwe that asked me to bring it back into the world as the world exists now. It was an energy that was very active thousands of years ago in the Amazon area. And one of the gifts that I got from Wanatakwe and this energy was an understanding of some vocabulary, some words in the Wanatakwe language. And one of those words was adequate, which described that region of knowing and intuition and serendipity and coincidence, that place. And so when I had written this book, and I was thinking, like, what? I wish I had a word to describe this place. And I thought, oh, I do. I got it from the Wanatakwe language, of the word adequate, that describes that place we travel to.
I must live there.
Well, you probably do now. I think when people go through a big transition, and when we find that peace, of course, that that's where you find it. It's you enter Adequate by going completely into the now, just as we were talking about. That's where it exists, right? It's the place of nowness, of present moment awareness. And you know what's so fun is to watch. I love to watch the Olympics because I love to see people. You know how occasionally you'll get a glimpse of these phenomenal athletes when one of them hits that moment when their performance, when they can't do anything wrong, when their performance is the best they ever did in their whole lives. And in that moment, they're experiencing Adequate, that total immersion in now. And I think my first experience was as a singer. I noticed that when I would allow myself in a performance in front of an audience, when I would go completely into the song and into the moment, I'd get chills and I'd feel I was in that other place. And I think performers often are there, and you can tell when someone is because their performance is a whole new level, right? If they're an athlete or an artist, or when we get into that total now moment, we're capable of many, many things. And some of them, as you know, relate to knowings about what is and knowings about other people and about what is about to happen. It's an amazing journey.
Yes, and it's things that, like, I can't explain. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't explain why I know things. My son is so funny. My son Josh will say, "Mom, you predicted this, and you said that this would happen," and it did. My son Josh, he's so sweet. He goes, "You know everything." I go, "Oh no, I don't know everything, Josh, but I do have these, these intuitions, and
yes.
I don't know if it's part of being an empath or living in Adequate. Right.
Well, I think we go in and out of Adequate all the time, right? Like, you have those glimpses, and then there'll be other times when you're just, just being living in a more ordinary space. But I think everybody has that intuition. It's just that you can learn to have it more often, and you can learn to call it up on demand, if you will. But we all have experiences, and I think what you're talking about, things you can't explain. So most people, when they've had an experience in Adequate, they start out with, now this is going to sound really weird. This really weird thing happened to me, but here it is. And everybody has these experiences. It's just our culture doesn't really embrace them, right?
True.
And
that's true.
Yeah, we're taught that they're weird. And in fact,
yes.
Yeah, in fact, it's just human. It's a human condition to be able to do that, to access intuition. And everybody does it. You have the thing, like you reach for the phone and you know who's on the other line before you answer it. And you know that you suddenly think of a friend you haven't seen for years, and then the next day you run into them or get a letter from them or something like that. And of course, there are people too that wake up in the middle of the night and they know someone has died. It's a human experience. It really is.
Yeah. We're not taught these things, and I think we come into this world, this is just my opinion, folks, with our gut instinct and intuition, but then, we get older, and then people tell us, you shouldn't think this way, you shouldn't be this way, and so I think it gets kind of misconstrued of what we, think and how we're supposed to feel. I don't know if seeing signs is part of living in adequate, but I've gotten signs from Matt, and I know what I saw, Carrie. I know I'm not totally bonkers, but I received signs.
Oh, good. I want to hear about it. I want to hear about one of them.
Is that part of living in?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one time I was it was where Matt sat on the sofa, and from there to the other side of the room, which isn't that big, I saw a beautiful yellow arch that had flowers in it. Well, embedded in it, like designed flowers. And it was beautiful. Never saw it again. And yellow means joy. And I said, Matt, you're telling me that you're happy. And it went away. And I never saw it again, but I did see it. Now, people might think, that's your little nuts, your woo-woo. And I would think that other people were too until I saw signs myself. And one night it rained hard. I got flooded. I was laying on my bed crying. And I saw a gold star on the the window shade. Never saw it again. And I said, that's you, Matt, telling me I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I know, it's just, like, I know what I saw. And I know I can't explain that, but that's what I saw. That's right.
And there is so much we can't explain because our ability to explain these things is very, very limited. And I think that there's just a lot that's true that we just don't have a means to explain. But the experiences are real. They absolutely are. It's like when I was saying that in the shaman world they call this a non-ordinary reality. It's not ordinary to see that star or to see that arch, but it is real. And you experience it and you can feel its reality. And you can feel that, in fact, it achieved its goal of you understanding it, you understanding what it meant in bringing you the peace that you need. And I just think we have a lot of ways that we communicate with in that realm. I mean, this is where people experience that they experience the help and the love that's there for us. And some people have that as a religious experience. Some people have it as in my case, more like a spiritual, non-religious spiritual experience, if you will. But that you can access guides, get advice, angels, whatever it is that is your way of finding that guidance. It's all there. It's all there for us when we allow ourselves to step deeply into the moment and then ask for guidance. It's there. For myself, absolutely. I have, if I ask for guidance, there's an inner voice that I can hear in response. And, and people call that channeling, right? And that's just one of the ways that I access this. And you have a very visual, apparently. You have a very visual access, which is wonderful that you see. I think it's like forms of energy that you see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I get, like, hearing it, too, or sense of touch. And I could have, I could have sworn, like, right after Matt died, I felt him. I felt him touch me. And I just felt him there. Like, I feel, I know this might sound a little cuckoo and audience might think I am. That's okay. I don't feel that Matt left me. Like, I still feel his presence, very much so. Yeah. I mean, I know physically he's not here. I know that. I miss his physical being. But spiritual being, because I don't know what other word to use for it, I feel him so much with me, Carrie.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Do you feel that way about Ed?
Yes, I do. And I think that most people do experience that. I suspect they do. You know, our culture, as we said, our culture doesn't really embrace this. People say that it's weird, or we're taught that it's weird, but I think that most people have when these experiences when someone close to them dies. And I've found that, like, the first couple of weeks especially, it's just like so strong, their presence. And I think that, here's another term that I got from my Wanataqua experience was the term ayama. And ayama is the part of you that is eternal. The part of you that existed before you came here and had this experience on earth embodied in this body, and the part of you that continues afterwards. And some people call that a soul. That's our most common word for it. And that spirit or soul or ayama, I think it's very real. It's right after someone close to you has died, as you say, it's tangible. It's like you feel it all around you. And I think that it is also intentional on the part of the person who has died that they want you to feel that, right? They want you to know that they're with you, that their presence is with you, and you aren't alone. And but yeah, it's real. It's absolutely real.
Well,
and I think some people are afraid to allow themselves to go deeply into it because they think, am I going crazy or whatever? And our culture tends to tell people that. But in fact, it's real. It's there.
Yeah. It sure is. I mean, maybe, like a few years ago, I would have thought, maybe that person, took something and they're seeing things. But, folks, I don't take drugs except my migraine medication. That doesn't make me hallucinate. And I just know what I saw. I know what I felt.
That's right. Yeah.
When my brother died, I had a weird dream that he was dressed as a mailman, and he gave me a letter. 2 weeks later, I received money from his estate. Well, my son did. He was sending me a message. That was just so, like, spine-chilling in a way, because I dreamt that he gave me a letter, and 2 weeks later, never had that dream again, but it's really, to me, it's kind of bizarre, but it's kind of cool at the same time. What are some of the ideas and tools that people can use to reach the state of
there's one tool that I picked up from Eckhart Tolle in reading about Eckhart Tolle that he suggested I found so useful, and it's something that it's a way to reach that state of consciousness, a way to reach silence and inner peace very, very quickly. I'd love to teach your listeners because I can teach it really fast. So shall we? Sure. Let's do it. All right. So what you do, and you do this along with me. So what you're going to do is you're going to just bend your right arm at the elbow so that you're holding your hand up, and you can have your elbow sitting on the on the arm of the chair or whatever, but have your hand so your hand is not touching anything. That's the main thing. So your hand is not touching anything. And then you close your eyes, and you'll do this silently to yourself. You ask, how can I know that my hand exists? How can I know that my hand exists? And what you'll find is that in answer to that question, in order to answer that question, your mind has to go silent for a minute and send its energy and attention up to your hand. So you can just say it again. If your mind starts chattering again, you just ask again, how can I know that my hand exists? How can I know that my hand exists? And in that moment, when your mind tries to answer that question, you have just a moment of silence. And so this time, when you get that moment of silence, allow yourself to go more deeply into the silence. To me, it's almost like a little portal I see that opens up right, and my eyes are closed, of course, but right in front of myself, in my mind's eye. When I ask that question and I get that moment of silence as the energy flows to my hand, I can just see a little portal open, and I can allow myself to go more deeply into that portal. How can I know that my hand exists?
Well, that's interesting. My hand got very cold.
It got cold.
Got really cold. Yeah.
That is interesting, because a friend of mine told me that in her case her hand got very warm. But the main thing is that it changed, right? The state of your hand changed. In my case, it gets energetic, like I can just feel the energy flowing out of my brain, traveling over my arm into my hand, and it's a very interesting exercise. And what I've found in introducing this to people is that if you practice it, you get better and better at then being able to focus on that moment of silence in your mind. Because the whole thing is like, you know how we started out in our conversation, Betsy, talking about finding peace and joy and happiness inside, and how that all exists in the moment. And the way you access the moment is if you can just find a moment of silence where your mind will be quiet, you can come deeply into now. And it's just nice to have a tool. This, by the way, if you ever have an experience of waking up at 3 a.m. obsessing about something, like you're worried about something and your mind gets in one of those worry loops, this is a perfect way to get yourself out of it. There's something about this exercise in that moment of silence that'll break obsessive thinking. So if you're really worried about something, you just can't, the way our minds are, it'll break that and allow you to be peaceful for a moment.
That is cool. I have to ask you, Karen, because I don't remember. Do you do courses? Do you do personal coaching, consulting?
Well, I'm not really at the moment, but I certainly have done that. I certainly have. Yeah. But if someone is, but I do have on my website, carriehart.com, I do have the ability to, you can sign up for my newsletter, and if I am offering something, I would send out an announcement to people.
Oh, great. I'll tell you what, folks, I went on Carrie Hart's website, and you have like little blogs, I'd call it, pieces of wisdom. That's very cool. And I also liked your power animals. Like you could find out which is your power animal. And an elephant came up for me and another one, but I always think of myself as the mama bear because I can relate to the mama bear. I'm very protective of my loved ones, and my claws will come out if someone hurts. I mean, I've had to be a mama bear with my son who has a disability, getting him what he is supposed to be getting, and to get Matt the proper care and diagnosis. I had to be a mama bear, and that's just how I refer to myself as I'm petite, but I am.
The power animals are just another example of the kind of help that's there for us, the kind of help and guidance, and it's all as real as you allow it to be, right? And the thing of what you just said about being the mama bear, I've found I used to have a practice where I helped people find their power animals, and now I have that website where people can go. But I would just go into Ottaquay and get people their power animals. And I found people found it so useful to just have the energy of this power animal that they could call to help them be more brave when they needed to be, right? Help them stand up strong when they needed to. And, we can use all the help we can get.
That's right. That's true. Can our power animals change?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I had, as a matter of fact, what happened with me is I always had as primarily a panther was my power animal for a long time. And then I went through a phase when I was actually building the power animal site and doing shaman work when a tiger helped me do all that. But then after Ed died, the next day I just saw an elephant. And the elephant came to me to not only give me strength and let me know I was strong enough to go and carry on, but also that it was time to go home to family. So I packed up, because Ed and I had moved out of state just a couple of years before. And so the elephant just said, no, this is time to go home to family, which I did. So, yes, I think in different periods of our lives, it's funny when you get older and you look back, you can see such distinct periods of your life, right? Oh, this was the period when I, right? And of course, when a long-time spouse dies, well, that's the end of that period and then the opening of a new one, and you go through whatever transitional periods you need to. But it's like we were talking about at the beginning. You want to build a new life and get as much joy as you can, even though it's different, right? And it's different, and it'll never be like what it was, but it can still be joyous. It can still be a one. You can still enjoy the moments. You can. And nature, of course, is a beautiful way to come into the moment and to reach joy and peace just by breathing, right? By being outside and feeling the sun on your shoulders and looking at a tree and breathing.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, I enjoy talking to you, Carrie. You're just amazing. I just can feel your good energy through the phone waves. The telephone wire, just so enlightening and powerful, and you're a role model. You are a role model of someone who lost your husband. You were married 46 years or over 46 years, and what you're doing with your life, and it's not easy, folks. We're not saying it's easy. It's not easy, but we have choices, and I tell my son that all the time. We have choices in life, and our choices could bring good things, or if we make a bad choice, or what you might call a bad choice, then there's consequences. I mean, that's just life. But I will always honor my husband's life. We sing to Matt happy birthday on his birthday. And I just, I'm glad to see more people on Facebook honoring their anniversaries, even though their spouses died. And I'm glad they're following my example, because I'm like, you know what? Yeah, if you're married, show your anniversary, honor it. I go out and celebrate. I don't care what people think. I'm too old for that, folks. I will We'll always honor Matt as long as I'm able to talk and function.
Yeah,
and
that's wonderful.
Thank you, and I thank you for writing your book. Please pronounce the name of your title so I don't goof that up.
Sojourner in Ottaquay. Sojourner in Ottaquay. Mind-expanding ideas and practical tools for the open-minded seeker of a meaningful life. And if your listeners would like to get the book, they can go to carriehart.com and then just click on the link that'll take them to Amazon to buy the book.
Oh, that's great. And folks, I checked out the website. Go on it. It's fun. You can see what your power animal is and get little bits of nuggets of wisdom from Carrie, and this all will be in the blog. So please read the blog that Jeanne White, who's station manager, writes. And thank you, Jeanne, for doing the blog and producing the show. And thank you, Carrie Hart, again for coming on and sharing your wisdom.
This was a real pleasure. Thank you, Betsy.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. And I want to thank Lillian Cauldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in, subscribing. If you haven't already subscribed to Chatting with Betsy, it is free on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, YouTube, just to name a few. You do not want to miss my phenomenal guest, and I do have phenomenal guests lined up. If I have to toot my own horn, toot, toot, I'm going to do it, because I have great guests that can help you have a better life. And the purpose of this show is for you to know you're not alone and that there's help. There's resources out here, and I'm providing them. I was inspired today by you, Carrie. I learn from every guest. I really do. And I'm grateful for what I do. And really, I want you that are listening, please share this show. Please tell your friends about Chatting with Betsy so I could help as many people as possible and honor my husband's memory at the same time. Because if it wasn't for Matt, I never would have gotten into my car to do videos, and I never would have met Jeanne White. So Matt is and always will be my catalyst and my inspiration, and I will never stop talking about Matt. And if you want to see pictures of Matt, who I always talk about, and Josh, you're welcome to follow me on my Facebook page, Betsy, B-E-T-S-Y, middle initial E, Wurzel, W-U-R-Z-E-L. And I have a support group if you're a caregiver, or even if you're not a caregiver, you might someday be one. Chances are you will be. I have a Facebook group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement, and everyone is welcome. You do not have to have Alzheimer's. Talk about all different dementias, and it's more like a family. So I just want to extend the invitation for that. And as I always say at the end of my show, folks, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind, shine your light bright, because if we all did that, it would be a much kinder, brighter world, wouldn't it? We need to be kind. And don't be afraid of shining your light to being a bright star in this world, because we need all the bright stars to brighten up this world. And that's what I believe, and that's what I'll keep on saying. And I forgot to say in the beginning the disclaimer, so I'll say it now. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host of the station. So that's what I have to say today, folks. And as always, this is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Till we chat again, be safe. Bye, everyone.